let me ask the question very clearly. Do you believe that the FCC should be weaponized against media organizations?
No, Senator.
FCC nominee Olivia Trusty gets her day in the committee, but the more burning question was whether Senator Cruz got his ice cream.
I would ask Senator Blackburn, is the ice cream limited to the children?
Senator Cruz, you showed up on time today, so you too deserve ice cream. I will be certain that at lunch I serve you ice cream.
I will take it. Senator Lujan.
It looks like I'm joining you for lunch, Mr. Chairman.
The numbers are in on the NAB show attendance, and the comments are coming in on delete, delete, delete. All of that and more coming up.
REC, FCC Today, Michi Bradley.
Back in Riverton from the hustle and bustle of the NAB show in Las Vegas, this is FCC Today, the podcast, where the Daily Digest comes to life for April 14, 2025. On Thursday, the Senate Committee on Commerce, Science, and Transportation held a hearing to consider the nomination for Olivia Trusty to be a commissioner on the Federal Communications Commission representing the majority party. Back in January, we reported that President Trump had nominated Trusty to fill the third majority seat on the bench. Trusty, who is a graduate of UNC Chapel Hill and Georgetown University, is currently the policy director on the very committee that she is testifying in front of. Many of the questions were in regards to broadband policy and spectrum sharing with the Department of Defense. The subject of spectrum auctions did come up.
I think auction authority serves as a catalyst to investment and innovation, not just for broadband deployment across this country, but for emerging technologies and applications that will allow us to be a global leader in technological innovation.
Senator Deb Fischer, Republican from Nebraska, inquired about her take on the Universal Service Fund, which is currently under scrutiny in the courts.
The Universal Service is the cornerstone of the FCC's mission. The Universal Service Fund itself has connected millions of Americans across the country. As you know, there's somewhat of an uncertain future with the Universal Service Fund, as there's a constitutional challenge before the Supreme Court, and the contribution base is shrinking as more Americans shift to internet-based communications. And so I think it's incumbent upon the FCC to work closely with Congress and interested stakeholders to identify a specific, predictable, and sufficient form of support as required in the Communications Act to continue meeting the needs of Americans across the country.
Answering a question from Maria Cantwell, Democrat from Washington, about virtual multi-channel video programming distributors such as YouTube TV, Trusty talks about localism and local journalism.
To your point about localism, I think it's extremely important. Broadcasters provide vital news and information about social and cultural events, educational programming, and information in disasters. And I think it's incumbent upon the FCC to work with Congress to ensure we have a modern regulatory framework that reflects the realities of today's media marketplace, that enables broadcasters to better compete against technology companies for viewers, for ad revenues, for programming, all things that they can generate resources by to reinvest into their news gathering operations and increase the availability of local news.
Overall, the hearing went well with no real confrontation from the minority. A vote on whether to advance Trusty's nomination to the full Senate could take place as soon as later this month. Last Friday, April 11, was the filing deadline in GN docket 25-133, the infamous delete, delete, delete proceeding, also known here at REC as Brendy's suggestion box. As we're recording this, some of the comments that were filed on the deadline date, including REC's, have not been posted into the FCC's electronic comment filing system. We should see those comments appear by midday on Monday, April 14. Of course, the big question is, what are people saying in this proceeding? As we record this episode, this docket currently has 646 comments, of which about half are express comments, where only the online form was used and no document was actually submitted. A large majority of those comments are from amateur radio and general mobile radio service, or GMRS, operators. The hams pretty much don't want to see any deregulation of ham radio, and they want to preserve the amateur radio frequency allocations. GMRS interests want to see the ability for the service to have linked repeater systems. This was in light of past systems that were operating in the service for which the Wireless Telecommunications Bureau had advised the operators of those repeaters to shut down the linking. They're also looking at the ability to be able to use digital protocols such as DMR, which is currently used in amateur radio. As expected, there were comments from the major broadcasters such as Beasley, which supported a complete elimination of the local ownership rules in light of the non-radio competition. We expect NAB's comments to convey a similar sentiment. Some broadcasters also wanted to see the elimination of the quarterly public file issues lists, and some have even asked for an elimination of the rule that requires full-service stations to have a local telephone number, claiming that it's too expensive. I pay less than $5 a month to have a DID number that I can forward to a VoIP phone or to another phone number, so I don't get that one. Of course, there were a share of broadcasters, especially those in the faith-based sector, that are asking for an elimination of the recently revived regulations to submit equal employment opportunity reports. And a very interesting concept proposed by a group of broadcasters, including the Cromwell Group, to allow commercial broadcasters to pay their annual regulatory fees on a payment plan instead of one big fee per year. Another issue that was brought up was the ability for AM stations with FM translators to be allowed to shut down their AM station and keep only the translator as a primary service. This is something that REC opposes, mainly because it violates Section 5 of the Local Community Radio Act, as it would elevate the translators to a primary status. It would also create issues with the fair distribution of services under Section 307 of the Communications Act. Now, of course, REC has promoted the ability for LPFM stations to increase their power up to 250 watts. However, to address the many concerns raised by full-service broadcasters, including some that we heard from at NAB, we've added our PACE program as an additional requirement to upgrade. Under the PACE program, LPFM stations must be under the same ownership for 4 years, and in those 4 years, they must fully participate in every EAS test, have been on the air for at least 75% of the time, and have had no enforcement issues. Currently, only about 350 LPFM stations meet the PACE criteria. This is a number that we need to seriously improve. Now is the time to read through the comments and make your replies. Reply comments in GN Docket 25-133 are due on Monday, April 28, 2025. The FCC has put out on public notice for comments a proposal by the National Association of Broadcasters to set drop-dead dates for the transition to ATSC 3 or Next Gen TV. The transition to Next Gen would mean that for over-the-air television reception, each household would have to purchase new television receivers or some kind of converter to receive the ATSC 3 broadcasts. ATSC 3 stations are currently operating in about 70 markets and are operating in a manner where both current ATSC 1 and ATSC 3 transmissions are available. Of course, our TV market, Salisbury, Ocean City, Maryland, where we only have 2 commercial TV stations and a PBS, is not one of those markets. Under the NAB's proposal, the full transition to ATSC 3, where the ATSC 1 simulcasting would end, would be in February 2028 for the top 55 markets, reaching about 70% of the viewers. The remaining markets would have until February of 2030 to complete the transition. The NAB also calls on the Commission to impose the All-Channel Receiver Act of 1962 to require manufacturers to only market television receivers in the United States that have ATSC 3 tuner capability. NAB also wants the commission to consider whether changes to the multi-channel video program distribution, or MVPD, carriage rules, such as the must-carry rule, need to be updated. Finally, the NAB urges the commission to update the rules to incorporate by reference the most recent ATSC 3 standards, including A321 for system discovery and signaling and A322 for physical layer protocol. Comments in MB docket 16-142 are due on May 7, 2025, and reply comments are due on June 6, 2025.
Michi at NAB.
For the past week, I'd been on that annual broadcaster pilgrimage to the mecca of broadcast and content creator stuff, the infamous NAB show at the Las Vegas Convention Center. 3 halls filled with stuff and services. And for those with the bigger bucks, access to all kinds of excellent sessions and training. Although some of those sessions were available to anyone with an exhibits pass, this NAB did have some historical significance, especially given this is the 25-year anniversary of the creation of the LPFM service in 2000. The NAB show had what I feel is the first time in history, a session where LPFM was front and center and had representation from at least one major LPFM stakeholder. In this case, it was the Michi. A panel of folks from the Society of Broadcast Engineers, the NAB, as well as others representing state broadcasters associations, were on hand to discuss a new inspection guide that was recently made available to NAB and SBE members, especially those who perform the Alternate Broadcast Inspection Program, or ABIP. During the panel, and then in a sidebar that I had after the session, I heard about some of the concerns that major broadcasters had with LPFM. The big one, of course, was underwriting violations. Please look for an open letter to all LPFM broadcasters. It'll be on our website, recnet.com. It's recnet.com for more information. Initial numbers provided by the NAB stated that there were about 55,000 registered attendees, of which 53% were attending their first NAB. Yes, they were NAB virgins. 26% of attendees were from outside the United States, and there were about 1,050 exhibitors. During the NAB show, I did visit many of my favorite exhibitors to get updates on their latest stuff. Our friends at AIR showed off the new version 6 of Playout One Pro. The most notable thing about the new version is the completely updated user interface. It has definitely been improved. Current Playout One Pro clients will be able to upgrade to version 6 early in 2026. AIR is also officially releasing their cloud-based music scheduler system, the AIR Scheduler, that not only works with Playout One, but it does work with many automation systems. AIR Scheduler will be launched for a free trial starting on May 19 and will remain free until September. After that, the service will be $60 per month per station. More information at AIIR.com. I should have more from NAB here in the coming weeks. The 2026 NAB show will be in Las Vegas from April 18 to 22, 2026. This should be a bucket list item for everyone. We'll see you there. And finally, the FCC has announced their tentative agenda for the April Open Meeting that is scheduled for April 28, a Monday. Subjects will include modernizing spectrum sharing for satellite broadband, utilizing the lower 37 gigahertz band, caller ID authentication on non-IP networks to block robocalls, and clarifying foreign ownership rules. Open meetings normally start at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time and are streamed live on YouTube and at fcc.gov/live.
From the mind of the Michi.
FCC Today, the podcast, is available through the Michelle Bradley YouTube channel. If you're watching there, please like the video and please subscribe. It's also available through Podbean, Apple, Spotify, iHeart, and many other places where you can get podcasts. For help with anything FM and FCC related, please contact REC Networks at 202-621-2355. Your business helps keep food on the table here in Riverton. Our comment line is open for anything you would like to talk about. We may play your comment on a future podcast. The comment line is 202-963-0852. Once again, 202-963-0852. Look at the way that dials. It's pretty easy. This has been a production of REC Networks, a big stakeholder in Little Radio, and where more choices and more voices is paramount. Check out our new streaming radio station powered by Playout One Standard, and great jingles such as this one from TM Studios' new WLS Classic Hits package. Michi FM is a mix of classic hits and strange off-the-wall stuff you would normally expect from the demented mind of the Michi. Check it out at michifm.com. But for now, I'm Michelle Bradley, SBE Certified Broadcast Technologist. Thanks for listening.
Michi FM plays whatever Michi wants. Slightly off the deep end. MichiFM.com.
Thank you, Senator Moreno. I would note that when you were describing the motto for the benefit of all in the facility in Ohio, I thought you were going to reference the phrase "to serve man," the classic Twilight Zone episode that ends with "It's a cookbook! It's a cookbook!"